Welcome to Being Revealed with Stephanie and Alex. I'm Stephanie Cunningham.
I'm Alex Holtzaffel.
We started this podcast to talk about the journey of personal and spiritual growth, ours and others. Thanks for joining us as we figure things out together. All right, here we are. We are doing the first episode, I guess, of RevelationU Being Revealed podcast. I'm Stephanie Cunningham. I'm here with
Alex Holtzaffel.
All right, great. So for those of you who don't know Alex, he is the most awesome guy ever in the world. He's my, what do we call each other? Everything, don't we?
Yeah, fiance, husband, wife.
Yeah.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, everything.
Every partner, everything. So, but one thing that's really cool is that we also like to talk about spirituality, and we like to talk about awareness and talk about, personal growth and development. And we've had lots of experiences separately throughout our lives before we met on Facebook dating 4 years ago.
It's hard to believe it's been 4 years.
I know. So, actually, this was Alex's idea.
Well, we always have really good conversations, and we talk forever about spiritual stuff and just, like she said, personal growth stuff. So it's like, we should get on this, start recording it, and put it out there as a podcast for her, her page or Spotify or whatever. And hopefully some people can relate to it and help some people, or it's just, a good listen. I, for one, don't listen to podcasts a lot.
No?
That's all she listens to. But I know I'm a music person. And I mean, talk radio or, Howard Stern was about the only thing I ever really listened to. But this time right now is podcast heavy. I mean, people, it's almost like some of it's like, like the spook, it's almost like reading a book, but you can be doing stuff. So
right, totally. So speaking of music, I know that's one thing that's, you're really into. I've never been a huge music person, but I know music means a lot to people. So what does music really mean to you?
Well, I think for me it's a part of spirituality. When you listen to a song and you get that tingling up and down your spine, that's a spiritual thing to me. So it's how, not everyone gets that, I don't think. I've mentioned that to people. They're like, I've never had that experience. So, it's just, I think for me, it's just part of that identity, or the spiritual identity, or something just speaks to my spirit, So.
Yeah, that connection.
Yeah.
Whether it's the lyrics or the beat, or he listens to very soothing music.
A lot of metal, but yeah. So I don't know. I think when you get that really cool sensation go across your body, that's and who knows? People might get that from food. They might get that from books, from interactions with other people, I don't know. So it's something interesting to see if people will have that experience with other things other than music.
Yeah,
I'm sure they do. But.
Well, and if you're listening to this and you can relate to that experience with music, or with, like Alex said, something else, let us know.
Yeah. That would be interesting to know, like, what gives you that tingling throughout your body, and it's such a hard thing to explain. But.
It is. So it's kind of like a resonance, or like a connection.
Yeah, and it's certain parts of songs will do it, and then they don't always do it, though. But it's just, I don't know, it's like you're in the moment and you're feeling that rhythm or that lyric or that guitar solo or whatever, and it just, So what does that for other people,
Yeah. You're talking about this, and something that just came to my mind. I don't listen to a ton of music. I listen to some, but there are some country songs that make me just burst into tears, and some that I can't even listen to. And you get that feeling. It's like it goes up your spine, and then it comes out, as waterworks. So And usually they're country songs.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
maybe they just, they're you can relate to them more, maybe the lyrics, and it's more
Yeah.
real life stuff. So,
Yeah. Gets me right there.
and that's not even what we were planning on talking about. So it's
No.
kind of, things just come up when we get to talking about stuff.
So we were kind of talking about like what do we want this to be? It's going to evolve. I think it's probably going to take a little while to kind of shake out.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I thought we could do, people have heard about me, right? Not everybody, but like the people who are listening to this,
probably, yeah.
Who at least who are going to be
your
listening,
site,
right? Have like either we work together or they've seen videos that I've done over the last 5 years, or whatever else. I wanted you to maybe introduce yourself a little bit more. Talk a little bit about, I don't know, your experience and what connected you to spirituality, if you want to say that, if you always kind of felt that way. I don't know, just whatever you feel like sharing about yourself.
Well, I mean, I think initially there was a hole there, and that, when I was young age, I filled that hole with alcohol and drugs and everything, and I didn't know it then, but something was always off, I never felt quite right growing up. But I mean, I was like, I was always trying to be the center of attention and get everyone's attention, trying to be funny, but then on the inside, I didn't like who I was. Wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and then probably young age, 14, started partying real hard, smoking marijuana and drinking, and all that stuff got really, really bad by the time I was 17, 18 years old, It kind of put me on the path to end up to where I am today, thank God or whatever, because without all the stuff I went through and fortunately survived, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But there was a lot of, towards the end there was a lot of psychedelic drug use, and it just really like messed my mind up. And at the time, it like opened my mind up a lot, but it really, really, it opened up too much to where I was believing all kinds of crazy stuff. But getting sober is really what brought the spirituality into my life, because that's what I needed in order to get better. I needed to change who I was, spiritually and emotionally and mentally, and I ended up finding 12-step program and was pretty active in that, and working through those steps and being of service in the rooms and helping other people really helped me change who I was. And it also helped me, see who I was and see who I was on the inside, and the character defects and all that stuff, which I know you're, with this app that you're starting to roll out, the first topic is awareness. So, that kind of goes into that. You really, in order to change, there's got to be a level of awareness and acceptance. So, yeah, that's kind of how I found spirituality and became spiritual.
And I know a lot about your story.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you were like when you were younger, right? I only know you for the last 4 years. But I find you to be so aware and so thoughtful and so connected, and just the way you ask questions when you're trying to support me or trying to support Kyle when we're frustrated or something. The way you ask us questions, the way you help us connect to what we're feeling is really magical. I feel like you really have a gift there. So do you feel like that was something that you were always able to do, or did you think that came with your spiritual growth?
Well, and that's why I was just mentioning, I think some of that came through the drug use, like and that's not, it's not recommended to go use a bunch of psychedelic drugs to open your third eye or whatever. But, that's what, I don't know a lot about like Indians and all that stuff, or how they use peyote and spirit, but that's what a lot of that stuff is used for. But for me, it went to like an extreme. So I think when I started messing around with that stuff, I became like a lot more aware of like myself and my actions, but it was almost in a bad way. Like I was looking at all the bad things about myself. And then I think, you know, when I got sober and started changing who I was and accepting who I was, then that level of awareness kind of changed, you know. I'm very self-aware.
Yeah.
And it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, because if you see every little thing that you do and you think everything is wrong, then you're just beating yourself up all the time.
Right.
And also in the program, you're taught to take inventory of yourself to try to correct, you know, so you're trying to change your behavior and not be the old you. So you're paying attention to how you're interacting with people every day. And if you're hurting people, and then if you are, you should make amends to them. So a lot of practicing that, you know, helped me learn to be self-aware too.
Yeah.
But it can, it can, just like everything, there's got to be a balance. You know, you can't just focus on the wrong things you're doing. You got to be aware of the good things you're doing as well.
Right.
So
has that been more difficult or for you to be more aware of the good things about yourself? Or do you feel like you're able to do that readily?
I don't know. I think I probably always focus more on the negative, but you know.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, I haven't.
Probably most of the people listening to this feel that way too.
Yeah.
And the person sitting across from you feels that way too.
Yeah, you got to take stock. It's just like, and a business takes inventory of everything, their gains or losses. So it's kind of the same thing with humans. You know, you got to look at the whole picture. Like, what am I doing good? What can I improve on? But it's not like morbid. It's not a morbid reflection. You know, it's you're doing it so you can better yourself. Same thing with sports, you know, you practice. And really the best way to learn and get better is to make a mistake, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like that with everything.
Yes.
You don't want to make, you know, it's not necessary, but really that's your best opportunity. If you're able to say, yeah, I screwed up, or yeah, that I shouldn't have done that, then you really can learn from that. But,
and that goes back to that awareness. My mission for Revelation U is, you know, I want to help people better understand who they are, how they work, so they can create a life that feels really satisfying. And it's kind of the same thing there that you were talking about. You have to recognize when you do something that doesn't work or doesn't feel good, right? And then, you know, recognize then when you do something that does feel good or does work for you, do more of that, less of what doesn't feel good, right? So that's how you kind of net up, if you will.
But it's hard, I mean, because if usually, like, you got to take into account that there's, like, addictions into play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying, like, hardcore, but usually if we keep, like, doing something and it's wrong or it makes us feel bad and we keep doing it, then it's harder to stop. Obviously, it's, you know, it could be like sex, it could be gambling, it could be shopping, it could, you know, but so I think usually those are the things that get us into some serious trouble, and those are the things that are harder to, like, you know, because we have, it's feeding us something, so it's harder to quit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But there are other things, like you go out through your day and you're like, man, I was hard on Steph today. I said some things I shouldn't have. And then, you know, let you know, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. That's not how I was really feeling. And then you can always think, like, well, if I feel that way again, what do I need to do? You know, I need to be careful before I say something. I need to check myself, you know.
And you bring up a good point there, too, because you're like, hey, some things really feel good, and they may not be great for you in excess, right? I was at a wellness meeting not too long ago, and I kind of said the same thing, and one of the women who is a nutrition coach asked a similar question. She's like, well, what if somebody said, you know, I'm going to eat a bunch of donuts all day long. That feels really good to me, right? And I was kind of joking. I said, well, am I going to tell anybody not to eat donuts? That's not that's not the kind of coach I am.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, it's like, well, we all know what feels good and what doesn't. And there we understand that disconnect, right? And when we're when we're doing things in excess, we have to look at our motivations.
Yeah.
I mean, and kind of say, okay, well, if I'm doing things that I know are harming me and my body doesn't feel good after the dust settles, does that really feel good? Or does it not feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it masking something? Is it a, like I say, my drug of choice is food, right? I'm someone who is an emotional eater. You see me do that, where it's like I get frustrated and I want to go eat Dairy Queen. You
say, screw it, I'm just going to grab the gallon of ice cream and eat right out of it.
Right. So it's like, oh, in the moment, yeah, it feels good. But logically, I know it's not a positive response. It's not the response that I really want to have.
Well, and I would say kind of what I've learned, from being sober, getting sober, is probably if you're reaching out, and you can do it with all kinds of stuff, but you don't feel good or something doesn't feel good, so you reach out to try to fix it. That's usually a spiritual malady. Or, so what are you supposed to do to stop the cycle of continually reaching out? Or if it's a spiritual, I don't want to say illness, but if something isn't right spiritually, then you probably need to fix it with something spiritual.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where you come in a lot, is it, meditating, finding ways to cleanse, Reiki, like, and it can even be like massage, healthy body, healthy mind type stuff. So
walking in nature.
Yeah.
Listening to music.
Yeah, listening. Yeah, exactly. So something, and that's kind of what I'm struggling with now, because I haven't had nicotine in 9 weeks. So it's like I have this huge identity shift now, because it felt like everything I did was revolved around smoking or dipping. And then, so I'm trying to learn that I can still be the same person without those things. But then, I kind of got that in the back of my head, like, well, I need to have something every now and then to make me feel right. And it's like, well, no, you don't, You don't
like what you said, that's the reaching out.
Yeah, which, I mean, it is every bit. There's a difference between people doing stuff occasionally every now and then people needing that to fix them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is. Like, so
yes,
anything tobacco related, most people don't do socially, some do. But yeah, so that's something I'm kind of dealing with. And then it's part of it's being aware, like, wait a minute, I don't need that stuff to make me feel a worthy person, or so, so that's what I'm going through right now. But it's kind of interesting. There's all these levels of stuff like that throughout my life. There's quitting alcohol and drugs, being sober 21 years, and then 21 years later, I'm trying to stop that nicotine use that I've kind of relied on for the past 20 or 30 years. So,
well, let's rewind a little bit. The reason that you quit, I mean, you didn't even try to quit. You weren't like, hey, I'm doing this, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. You had a major surgery, right? C-spine surgery for fusing 4 levels. You knew, being in the medical field, you knew that nicotine was not going to support your recovery in the way that you wanted.
No, I mean, nicotine really prevents new bone growth. There's just so many bad things it does. It constricts your blood vessels, so the healing might not be that quick or might not happen at all. It affects the osteoblast from creating new bone, which is needed so the levels fuse together. So yeah, I mean, and I didn't quit until
the day of surgery.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. And the fact that I haven't touched nicotine for this long, or it's like, this is like my best shot at quitting smoking.
Right.
And I smoked for years, and I'd be like, man, I wish I could quit. But it's just that, like, you think it's doing something for you, but probably like 5% of the time it actually makes me feel good. The rest of the time I'm like, feel like I'm a slave to it. That's an interesting thing, when now that I haven't had it, it's like I want to think about all the things it did for me, not all the times I hated doing it.
Yeah.
So.
But I do want to stay there for a second, because it was like you just quit cold turkey. Quit cold turkey, all nicotine. You smoke. How much do you think you smoked a day?
I probably smoked like a pack and a half and did like a can of dip a day.
Okay. So. And all the coffee. So.
And they say a can of dip is the amount of nicotine in that is about 80 cigarettes. Oh my God. So that's like, what would that be? 4 packs? A can of dip's equivalent to 4 packs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started dipping when I quit drinking. It was like, I think I kind of switched addictions there. But so, yeah, that's a lot of nicotine that's not in my system anymore that I'm probably...
That has been for 20 years.
Yeah. So, my brain is probably all like, what the heck's going on?
Right. So, in the middle of having surgery, recovering from this major surgery, which you've been off work for, it will be 10 weeks, right?
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, when you go back to work.
Yeah.
And, the doctor had you on some restrictions for the first...
Almost 8 weeks, really.
8 weeks, yeah. So all that was happening, and you added taking nicotine out of the picture.
Yeah, the one thing that gave me some comfort.
And I remember quitting smoking a long time ago and how difficult that was. And so I was braced for whatever was going to happen, and I really didn't see very much irritability or confusion or stress surrounding quitting smoking. And I don't know if that's because your body was doing other things and it just wasn't interested in it.
Well, at first, my throat was a mess because they slide your throat, your trachea and your esophagus, they move it over so they can work on your spine. So like the first couple weeks, even now, it's hoarse but I didn't want to put any kind of I can't imagine trying to smoke when it was like that. But.
Yeah. Well, so I just really want to state how big of a deal it is, and then so getting to this point where you're starting to feel like you're recovering well enough from your surgery that you can do more things. You're working out again. You're rolling the lawn the other day. You're doing more and more. You took a treadmill downstairs.
Yeah, that wasn't too smart.
So all these things that you're doing. Your body's starting to be like, okay, I'm feeling good. So do you think maybe now is the time it's starting to miss some of those things because you're not focused on the recovery so much?
Yeah, I mean, it could be that I'm back to doing normal stuff and moving around, and who knows? I was also on some pain meds and muscle relaxers, and now I'm not taking any of that. So it could be a combination of. So I didn't realize this, which I should have, but like nicotine releases dopamine.
Yeah. So
maybe the anesthesia and the pain meds and all that was kind of helping, but now it's like there's nothing.
Yeah.
So maybe my brain's kind of like, whoa, like I'm used to having this stimulation, this dopamine release. So where's it at? And plus it's kind of that seasonal depression stage right now. It's all dark and gloomy. So there's a lot of things, but that's where the awareness comes in too. It's like, I had a pretty rough weekend, just feeling like off, kind of depressed and down. But I'm also like, rather than just like taking it out on people or laying around, I'm aware of it.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I'm okay. I still kind of want to sulk in it or lay around. I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe having a day in bed. But when it becomes like day after day, and I think being aware, like, hey, this is not normal. These thoughts, these sad thoughts are not me. Wanting to lay around is not normal. So being aware can really help you get help if you need help. Like, be like, hey,
Absolutely.
I need to reach out. Maybe I need to get on antidepressant. Maybe I need to change it, or maybe this is just something that's passing. It's going to be quick, like if you, some people look at like depression as a sign of weakness or awareness as a sign of weakness, but then you're just kind of ignoring it. Because if you're aware that something is not right, then you're weak because something is not right.
Oh, that's why they say that.
Well, I would think. I mean, I don't know. It's like being in denial. Like
right.
if you don't
recognize that, then you don't.
Yeah, if you don't recognize there's a problem, then nothing's wrong.
Right.
So, you know.
Right.
At least in your eyes,
that's felt really great, and I watch you go through life with such awareness, and it is really inspiring, honestly. Awareness is something that's, just kind of looking back my whole life. Ever since I can remember, I've always felt aware. I've always felt connected to something much bigger. I've just always felt that, to me, spirituality means connection, right? So connection with self, others, and source. And I've always been aware of all of that extra stuff. I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know. I couldn't communicate that I felt that way. I was always aware of what was going on in my body and how I felt. Again, I didn't understand any of it. It's kind of like having that awareness without the understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, or you just don't know. Like maybe you're aware of it, but you don't know. Maybe you don't have anyone that can relate to you, so you don't know who to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And that can be a bit, say you're aware of stuff, or you pick up stuff, feel stuff, but then you're alone with it.
Yeah.
That's, that's hard too, because you can't externalize it with anyone either. You know what I mean? Like, or share it, or, that's why it's important also to be surrounded by people that get you or are the same, whether it's their spiritual beliefs or just being aware. I think spirituality is about being open to, like, having an open mind, because I'm a skeptic by nature, and there's things, I guess it kind of contradicts, because I can be a skeptic, but then I believe that anything's possible. This is kind of how I work. But
to that point, meeting other people that are aware and can talk about it, and that you can, share things with, like, I feel like I can share anything with you, and that's been a rare feeling for me in my life. People who know me well know that judgment is my cross to bear here. Not judging others, but feeling judged, right?
Yeah.
And that has kind of held me back a lot. And to be able to have these conversations and know that you're a safe place, know that you're coming from a place of awareness as well, right? With yourself and with others, and from a non-judgmental space, it's nice to be able to have these connections and to be in a space. So to your point, getting together with like-minded people, having these conversations and sharing in an open and connected environment is kind of key.
Well, it is. It's all about relating to, and that's how the 12-step program, you got the program, which is like you work the steps, change who you are, and then you got the fellowship. And a lot of people will stay sober just on the fellowship, but which doesn't, in the end, that kind of sets you up because you haven't really changed. But I think people can stay sober on just the meeting of the fellowship, because it is a strong, there's people in there that relate to you and get you, and that's kind of like something about sharing with people who have experienced it and can relate. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Now, like with the whole 12-step program stuff you do have to change who you are, and just which takes action, and it's not just about being in there and sharing it, but it says a lot that, and I think it's like that with anything, though. If you can, there's nothing worse than having all these thoughts and feelings in your head or heart or whatever, and not being able to share it with someone, or have someone to be able to relate and say, hey, I relate and I've experienced that too. And just having two people that have went through similar things and relate to each other can, help a person a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you want to share?
Well, no, we've talked for 30 minutes, so we really don't know what this is going to be about. I don't know if anyone will listen to it, or maybe if they, it'd be something good to listen to if they work out or something, or drive, give it a try. And we can talk forever about stuff, so we could just keep making them, and they'll be out there if people. Yeah. I'm surprised we talked this long. So I'm not at all surprised. Well, we'll have to.
I have so many more questions because We could totally talk longer.
Well, we'll have to save it for a second one.
I'm feeling like you're coming to the end of your conversation.
Yeah, for now.
Right. Yeah, so. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for listening. And if you want more information about RevelationU, go to RevelationU.com. And also, we have, we're getting ready to launch an awesome membership platform where we have quarterly themes, monthly exercises and journal prompts, weekly coaching, emails, daily inspiration, lots of community involvement. And Alex, you've been on it.
Yeah.
How does it feel to you?
Well, there's an opportunity for like-minded people to be able to support each other.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of material that you're putting into it. And it's going to take a while to figure out how to get it all to flow. But really, for people who are really wanting to like better their mental, emotional, spiritual health and have other people that can support them and relate to them, I think that it's a great thing if a lot of people can get on there, and be active.
And it's on a cool little app.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. If you want to learn more about, like I said, Revelation U, Reiki and Wellbeing, we do Reiki and coaching. We also have some workshops and courses that are out there, and we also like to support our corporate companies too, corporate well-being. That's a biggie. I was in corporate America. We need corporate well-being.
Yeah, you were trying to create a program.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story you can get into sometime.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for the very first Being Revealed, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.